When I was growing up, I never thought that housing would be as much of an issue as it is today, with more and more people year after year having to resort to whichever works the best way for them to survive. Whether that's living with family and friends, living in your car, which we've seen many times and we've touched on that many times over the course of this channel, or even literally pitching up a tent outside the local convenience store, which we'll touch on today in this video. Humans are extremely adaptable, but I don't think we were ever meant to be chained down to the trap of capitalism, where the winners seem to stay ahead and the losers seem to always fall behind. Well, if you feel like you relate to anything discussed in today's video, or you simply like topics discussing the downfall of society and the crumbling reality of everything around you, then feel free to like, comment your thoughts, opinions below, and subscribe to see my daily uploads around here discussing topics just like this. And I want to start this video off by giving a huge shout out to my channel supporters, my Patreon supporters, my channel memberships, and everybody who rocks with the content. You can check out the links to all that stuff down below in the description. Those are some of the best ways to support me and the content around here. Now, let's begin this shit show, shall we? So as you see here in the beginning of this video, we have people who just straight up set out tents outside their local convenience store. This is the local street of a pretty busy street of whichever city this is located in, and this is in pretty much every major city, at least throughout the U.S. And feel free to let me know down below if you guys are in other countries or whichever parts of the U.S. you are from, if you've seen this time and time again. It seems as if finding people who are living outside or have really no other option to just live on literally the sidewalk just seems like the common resort. And now we're going to actually touch into Kansas City, which we've seen many times before. Skid Row is one of the most popular ones in America. We have that down in Los Angeles, California. But this is something that happens time and time again. This person says that time when I lived in Kansas City, and this is this guy's tent castle, which is probably a
castle, so
better price per square footage than most of us are paying.
And I've got propane, so if you guys want to use it.
But look at all those tents. That's not just tents out there, folks. Those are multiple people, multiple families who have nowhere better to go. And I don't think this is most of these people's first options. Now, let's be honest. There are some people in here who would rather be here than anybody else, and they've just decided to completely opt out of society, and this is their way of doing so. But I do feel like many of these people, they ended up here, out of a course of many different events, out of many different hurdles that they stumbled over, and this is definitely not where everybody wants to be. But kind of inspirational to think about how much we complain with
this is our humble abode.
People literally
probably the smallest tent in here.
Even closer, dealing with stuff like this. So I definitely do sympathize with the people who are in these types of different situations. Hey, now we're going to touch on the dreadful living in your car, which has been touched on time and time again, at least throughout the course of this channel right here. We kind of blew up in the first videos talking about the Gen Z and millennials rather being homeless to resort to any sort of freedom. But to be honest, I think with the rising housing costs and the rapid rise of inflation, I feel like the majority of people are just not really having much of a choice in opting out of this, because many people don't have family and friends to shack up with. And, with the crazy down deposits that many of these new buildings and many of these new infrastructures have in place, it's almost impossible to get in unless you have buku bucks already stacked away, which many people don't. If you know the average, I think it's like 60 to 70% of Americans couldn't even deal with a $500 random expense. So imagine a 3 months in advance rent payment. It's just not going to happen.
And because of the out of control inflation that we're having in our country right now, and rent prices being over $1,500 a month, I have been outpriced at the rental market, and I live here in my car full time, and I wanted to give you a brief tour. So starting with the bed here, it is a 3-inch memory foam mattress topper, super comfortable. I have about 4 layers of blankets, which keeps me warm, especially right now. We've got 20-degree weather at night.
20-degree weather.
It's pretty cold. Moving over here, I have my cooler. I've had a few people tell me I'm not supposed to have this cooler because I live in my car, but it actually was a birthday gift.
Oh, isn't that crazy? That's capitalism, consumerism at its finest. You're not supposed to have nice things because, you're a broke loser. And if you're a broke loser, you're not supposed to have anything nice. In America, nice things are a dime a dozen. There's nice things in dumpsters all throughout. You can find a Louis Vuitton bag in a dumpster somewhere. Is it fake? Most likely. But people will think it's real if you walk down the street in it, because that's all people care about is the look and the appeal. But it's kind of interesting to think about how he's talking about this is pretty much everything in this guy's possession right here. And a lot of you guys have actually commented or talked to me through my evening lives, where I go live in the evening. Feel free to stop by and say what's up if you guys want to hang out and talk to the chat. But it is kind of interesting how a lot of people are in this position where they are living in their vehicle. Not only is it a means of travel, but it's a way of opting out of certain bills like rent, mortgage, or certain things. But
last year for my 30th birthday, and I just can't part with it. I absolutely love it. Keeps all my food cold and fresh for days. I absolutely just adore this cooler, so I'm not going to get rid of it. And in the back there, you can see I have two really comfortable pillows. I'm about 5.
How I live outside and everything you need to know surrounding that situation.
Alright, now this guy has built himself like one of those mansions. You know those videos on YouTube that we all watch like 3 a.m. we're trying to go to sleep with like those people in a different country building those like mud huts and those like mud mansions? This guy pretty much did that with like logs and wood. He's playing Minecraft in real life. Now let's hear him out and see how he's doing so. It's pretty crazy.
So 14 days ago, I decided to go and live outside and make myself a little homestead in the woodlands in the middle of nowhere. What you need is a good shelter, somewhere to base up and somewhere to put all your stuff in. You'll need somewhere to store dry wood so you can keep your campfire going most nights whenever you're out there. You'll need something and somewhere to wash because you don't have the contemporary washing system that you would normally have. And one of the most important factors is keeping yourself warm. So you will have to keep yourself warm. By this, I use a campfire. I cook over this campfire when I have food as well. And I also use it to keep myself warm.
This guy might have figured things out. You know, Uncle Sam hates to see him. This guy has it all figured out, I think.
Especially in the cold winter nights. So now you've seen the area that I'm going to sleep in, which is inside my shelter. You've seen the campfire. Obviously the dog's there. He spends the time with me. This is where I make and prepare all my food. I've prepared a table so I can make my drinks and prepare all my food on. Now, in a nutshell, you just need basically everything you have at home.
You just need basically everything you have at home. So if you can just replicate pretty much every appliance that, you know, society has like already given you, they can, you know, it's just that simple. Crazy.
Outdoors. So you need shelter, somewhere to base up. You'll need heat. You'll need somewhere to cook on. You'll need somewhere to store fuel, which for me is dry wood. You'll also need bits of food, which I've used to find in the forest. And you'll also need a water source, which I get from a tap.
Nobody can afford a home right now. Housing affordability is at its lowest levels in history, 3 times worse than it was during the Great Financial Crisis. There's a lot of different reasons for this. There's the Fed hiking rates, there's lack of supply, NIMBYism, but there's also the financial aspect of owning homes. Incomes are being eaten away by inflation. Home prices skyrocketed during 2020 because people were like, we're gonna move into a home. Also, mortgage rates were 3% during that time, meaning you could just get a bunch of home for not that much financing. But now the final aspect of financializing a home, mortgage rates are skyrocketing because the Fed is raising rates. Mortgage rates have hit almost 7%. Previously, you were able to get a $432,000 house with a $1,600 monthly mortgage. Now you can only get a $267,000 house because mortgage rates are so high. We're in this weird spot where supply is constrained. Homeowners don't want to list their homes. Home builders can't really build homes because we have labor shortages. Home prices are falling, but they're falling from 124 straight months of home price growth. So it's a storm of people can't afford homes because mortgage rates are so high, because the Fed is raising rates, but also we have huge supply constraints, whether that be from people just being like, I'm not going to list my home, or because we just don't have the proper infrastructure in place to help build new homes.
Well, it sounds like we're all screwed, guys. You know, I mean, maybe the 10 cities is a good idea. Maybe it is a way to opt out of society, and it is a solution to all of our problems. Now, maybe we should make our own 10 city. Maybe we should make one from scratch. Does anybody have a field? Maybe if we all pitch together enough money for buy property, then we make 10 city. Will they allow that? Actually, I don't think so, because they actually can still control your land. We've actually touched on that in many other videos where a woman wanted to make little tiny homes for a family and make a little homestead for a family, and the city turned that down because they couldn't have that many occupants in the residency or capacity. I don't know. They had some bullshit reason. They always do whenever you want to live your life to the fullest. But either way, I would love to know all your guys' thoughts and opinions down below in the comments about your current housing situation, your thoughts and opinions regarding the rapid increase of the housing cost, of the cost of living and all that. You know the deal, all that stuff. Anyway, feel free to let me know down below in the comments. I want to give a huge shout out to everybody who supports the channel around here, especially the Patreon supporters, the channel memberships, and everybody who rocks the content. Again, like I say in every video, you can check out all those links down below in the description. Those are some of the best ways to support me and the content around here. Now, thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.